Here I am with Liz Harris from Arizona. When you hear her story, you're going to be, well, let's just say maybe a little bit perplexed, but I'm going to let her share this story with you, and you're going to find out some more things on that. Election integrity doesn't just happen to the people against us, it happens to other elected officials.
Yes.
And is that what you'd say?
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All right, so many people know that after the November 2020 election, I started the Canvass, and that was going to doors and asking people not who you voted for, but what method
Exactly, that's how you do it.
method you used to vote. How many people are supposed to be in this household? Who's supposed to be on the voter rolls? How many extra mail-in ballots did you get? And what did you do with those extra mail-in ballots? So the results were alarming. They were so alarming that President Trump actually even talked about this canvass at one of his rallies in Georgia, even though we're in Arizona. But anyway, everyone knew about the canvass. People modeled what we had done in Arizona, and they did it throughout the country. So when I did finally win my election for state representative, my goal was to get everything on the record I possibly could to show the anomalies in how what happens in voting in Arizona. And I was doing that through committee meetings. So Colonel Ivan Raiklin approached me and said, Liz, why don't you do a joint hearing between the Arizona House and Senate? I'm like, I'm a freshman legislator. I can't do that.
Right, exactly.
I don't think, how can I do that? And he said, Liz, figure it out. And I'm like, the Speaker of the House wants my vote on something. Let me go say, yeah, I'll vote on that if I could have this joint hearing. And the Speaker of the House and the Senate President allowed me to have this joint hearing. And there were 5 speakers that Ivan Raiklin presented. And I was really excited. This is going to be great. And then a few of those speakers weren't able to make it. And I had to run out and find substitute speakers. So I got Seth Keshill. And then I got someone by the name of Jacqueline Berger. And Jacqueline Berger came in at the end, and she testified that the reason we don't have fair elections in Arizona is because the judges and the politicians are corrupt. Now, Jacqueline Berger said that. I was not aware. I said, keep this to election integrity. I have a recording of the conversation that I had with her and John Thaler. Keep this to election integrity. They spoke about a lot of things. I just say it was divinely inspired, not Liz Harris inspired. And then they used that testimony. So a constituent came in to address the government, and then they used that testimony to say that I broke a House rule, and they expelled me. The legislators expelled me from the Arizona State House on April 12th, 2023.
So if you're talking on election integrity, the same thing that they've been complaining about, and they expelled you, why do you think that is?
I truly believe that the majority of Republicans do not want election reform.
Well, I will say this.
And it should be a nonpartisan issue.
I've said this before publicly. You know, I've got a lot of Republican friends that don't think there's any problem with election integrity. Now, I will say that I have a lot of friends that think there's no problem with our elections. I think there are problems with our elections, on the record. But there's also a lot of Republicans that I think that will go along with the establishment. You know, that they just go ahead and go along with them anyway, regardless of what they truly believe or not, or what they truly say in public. Is that what you're finding?
So you're talking about, we call them either the cocktail party Republicans or the country club Republicans. Let me explain. You give a max donation to someone running for office, they win, you've got their ear. Are you following me?
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of the Republicans who are siding with these elected officials who are saying there's nothing wrong with our elections, or they're saying, yeah, there's something wrong with our elections, but we've got a Democrat governor, so we can't do anything. I got news for you. A legislature can do whatever they set their mind to when you're holding the majority. Arizona holds the majority in the House and the Senate. One person. But they just got Katie Hobbs, a Democrat governor, to take away the rental tax in Arizona, which we were told was never going to happen. The Republicans traded that for something. Why can't the Republicans go to Katie Hobbs and trade election reform for something? things can get done.
So let's talk a little bit. So what happened to you afterwards? What happened when you get basically kicked out of your position?
And then we've got
what did they call it?
The Arizona State House.
No.
Oh.
What was it? You got kicked out.
I got expelled.
Expelled. Okay. Forget the term that you had used. So now you get expelled. Then what happened?
We've got 6 days for the precinct committeemen in the legislative district to gather. This is Arizona statute. And we put forward nominations for that seat. So I was one of 9 names nominated. And I won that election with 70% of the vote. But the statute is we come up with the top 3 vote getters, and then we submit all 3 names to the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and they get to pick from one of the 3. So even though I came in number 1, they didn't pick me. They picked the person who was more likely to vote with the establishment.
So the legislative body didn't pick you, the Board of Electors picked you.
That's what the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors would be equivalent to.
Okay. Again, when I ask questions, I ask them in a way that the audience might be thinking a little bit differently, and so I want to make I don't want to say I try to make it as easy as possible. So basically, once you've got the 9 out of the 9 people, you were top in 3, but they didn't even pick you to send you on.
Correct. And there was a former state senator who was one of the nominations. He got like hardly any votes. The reason is because the people, they don't want politicians in office anymore. It's supposed to be a citizen legislature. I was a citizen legislator. I remembered the people. This is all about we the people. It's not about my agenda. It's not about, what deals I can make, whether or not I can increase my net worth by 10 times, 100 times. It's about going in, serving the people. You are a servant to the people, and you pass the legislation, and you get rid of unnecessary, antiquated legislation. That is the job of a legislator. But the legislation that you pass needs to be for the people, not for all the special interest groups.
It goes back to one of the things I can only connect this to is I think bureaucracy in our country has gotten so deep. And there's a lot of bureaucratic agencies that are making the rules, making the laws, that they're being to circumvent legislative bodies, Congress in D.C. The same kind of happens in our parties.
Yes.
The basics of these rules and laws get through. Maybe there's a little procedure that gets put in that tweaks it a little bit just the right way that gives power to somebody else to be able to allow stuff like this to happen. Right. Your story. Is that right?
That's an excellent summary.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
I tell you what, these are happening everywhere. We've got more of these situations coming up. Thank you so much.